Hello, and welcome to the Total Mental Performance Podcast, the one and only mindset podcast dedicated to helping fitness entrepreneurs and coaches master their mindset, giving you insider access to industry leaders around their psychology, their campfire stories, and the mindset required to be successful in this business. I'm your host, Kyran O'Neill, mental performance coach and founder of Total Mental Performance, the world's fastest growing specialist mindset service dedicated to the fitness industry. So, without further ado, let's lean in and listen. Yes, team. Welcome to the Total Mental Performance Podcast. Today's actually a bit of a different episode. And the reason it's different is we've got one of my best mates, Louis Calvert. The amount of infinite love and respect I have for this man, but in the same sense that you would with your own brother, almost a level of loathing, almost a level of, at times, a loving hatred. And we get on each other's tits, and it's bizarre. But honestly, he's been such a big part of my life, and we've been on quite a journey. He's the founder of the Power Project, and we've pushed each other, we've challenged each other, we've competed with each other, we've embraced each other, we've loved each other. It's just amazing. It's like the journey that we've been on, and I just know that there's so much life lessons to be taken out of this. So, mate, welcome to the Total Mental Performance Podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's about time, I think, don't you?
Yeah, well, Louis was with me when I picked up my first ever paid coaching client. Can you remember?
Oh, I remember well. I was pushing you to take it.
Can you remember that? It was amazing. We decided to go traveling, and that our definition of traveling is a very different definition.
Yeah,
right?
we had the goal of being in a new city every single month. We thought this is going to be great, and we got to the first place, Valencia. We stayed there for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Kyran became an illegal immigrant and had to leave. I was 2 days away from being an illegal immigrant by itself. Had to leave. Went to Dubai. Got stuck there. And that was our traveling career over.
That was it.
The thing that I've worked for 5 years to get to. I was like, right, I'm building my business so I could travel, live out of a suitcase. I'm going to love this. Lasted for 3 months. I tried it again recently, though.
Completely fell apart. And so, yeah, at that point, I just left a software sales career. I actually took a year out. I haven't shared this with many people, but I actually took a year out to just work on myself. Come out of a 6-year software sales career. I'd left London. I'd left my previous relationship, which wasn't working. I'd been diagnosed with ADHD, and there was just a lot of chaos. And I'd gotten to a point where financially I didn't have to go to work. I had enough to survive. And I decided, right, I'm going to take a year out. And I'd already studied mindset performance, and I was already training that when I was leading software sales teams or mentoring or even in sports. So I was always doing it, but I decided to take a year out just to study. And me and Louis met up, and we'd actually fallen out. We had a silly argument, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we hadn't spoken for about 2 years, I think.
One of many arguments, but this is probably the most potent.
This was
longest lasting argument we had.
That was a 2-year hiatus. That was a pause on our relationship, and
worked out well though.
Oh, I think it was exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
And we just went. I remember we went for this walk where we used to go running as kids, as boxers. We went for this walk, and we was like, why don't we just travel? And we was like, yeah, let's do it. And then, so anyway, we end up in Valencia, and I'm working with, a lot of my business contacts. These are like CEOs or senior executives in the performance and commercial performance space. And, but I wasn't charging them. I was just coaching them just because I loved it. And I just thought, fuck it, why not? And I was getting really good results. And we're in this Valencian pub, and with the weirdest coincidence. So Louis' uncle, Martin, used to coach us. And the street we landed on was called St. Martin Street. And the pub we went to watch the boxing that evening. So we went to go watch the boxing on St. Martin Street in a pub.
I remember saying as well, because there was 3 Irish pubs. We had to go watch the boxing. I think it was Dillian White and Povetkin.
That was it.
And I remember saying there was 3 Irish pubs. We knew they'd be showing it, and we didn't know where else to go. And there was one called like St. Martin's pub.
That's it.
And I remember literally saying, because me and Kyran both love, like, we were always looking out for signs from the universe and stuff like that. And I remember literally saying, I bet something significant happens tonight. Even if we just kind of search for it, I know something significant's going to happen, and take it away.
And then we go there and we're watching the boxing. And
no, we didn't even watch the boxing. No, we got there and they had like some weird MMA on. It wasn't UFC.
That was it. That was
strange
it,
yeah. MMA federation on, and we were about to leave the pub, and this guy, English guy, first English guy we'd seen in ages, because it was around the COVID time, so that no one was traveling. He turns around and he goes, "You trying to watch the boxing?" And we go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I'll get it on my laptop." And he just had his laptop there for some reason, and he started streaming it in the pub.
That was it.
And he was really into boxing too. So I'll let you take it away from there.
Yeah, and in the end, he was like, "So what you doing, and how does it work?" And you know, we'll come into the significance of Martin and who he was later. But I just told him what I was up to, and he's like, "Oh, amazing! What do you charge?" And I was like, "At the minute, I'm just doing it for free." And he goes, "I want to pay you." I went, "Don't worry about it. It's fine." He went, "No, really, I want to pay you." I went, "Okay," and then he goes, "How much do you want to charge?" I went, "I don't know, €75." He goes, "We'll call it 50."
He haggled you down.
Yeah. And I went, "Sure."
No worries.
And that was my first paying client. And Louis really guided me through that. Like the whole thing. He was like setting me up on Stripe. He was like, "You need to build it. Like, you need to be thinking about marketing at some point." Louis had hit a really powerful financial, probably one of your financial peaks.
In terms of consistency, definitely.
Yeah. Like just consistent building, growing, scaling. And I've never built a coaching business before. I've built a couple of other businesses, but they're never an actual coaching business. And Louis just guided me through all of it. He literally saw that €50 note. He literally saw that be born, and he's watched that whole trajectory into the team that we have, the brand that we have, the events that we're running. And I can honestly say, mate, TMP, we wouldn't be where we are without you, mate. So thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And yeah, I remember that £50. I remember you coming out or something like that, saying that the £50 was there. And I said, "All right, that's it. You're charging now." Because there's obviously a mental block there, you know. It's like, I do this, but I don't charge. And as soon as that £50 hit the pocket, you know, now you're charging. And then I remember all of these people that you were doing for free, they slowly started to become paying clients. Boom, 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 boom. And then there you go. TMP was truly born.
That's it. And I think there's undervalued is working for free. Like I before I'd even taken a paid client, I had like 8 or 9 testimonials from pretty influential people in their spaces of what they did. So there's something that's understated in that. But yeah, Louis just saw it, and then he advised, and then he pushed, and even things like, "Holy shit, how do I manage this? How do I manage that? Or a client hasn't paid me. Like, what do I do?" And then he's like, "Don't worry, dude." Like he literally just guided me all through that, mate. So thank you. But run us through, if you're gonna give people that don't know who you are background, who is Louis and what is the Power Project?
So Power Project is a peak performance coaching program for men. I call it peak performance because we work on peak performance across man, mind, and mission, which is what I call the peak performance pyramid. So we work on man, the physical, the energy, the physique, the strength, mind, which is their identity, their mental fortitude, and then mission as well, which is a big one, and one that I truly believe most guys are lacking in. Even if they're fucking huge, even if they are smart as fuck, they're often lacking in the mission department. And that is living with deep intention, going into every single week, every single day, every single event with clear intentions of why you're there, what you want to get out of it. And making sure that you've got a powerful vision, you know where you are going. So I work with men on that. And that comes from basically lacking in all of those areas deeply from when I was younger. Seeing the contrast from myself when we knew each other, well, we still know each other now, but you know, when we were boxing together, no confidence, no confidence in terms of social situations, but also no confidence in myself being able to actually get any better at anything. I had the most fixed mindset. I was getting U's and E's at school. I got 1C, and that was in ICT. And I just thought that was me. And going through my own journey and feeling the difference between having that fixed mindset of thinking what I am is just what I am and it's not going to change, compared to having that growth mindset and feeling that kind of seep into everything else, is how the Power Project has come to be. Basically, it's something that if I had had back then, well, it would have accelerated me by fucking at least 5 years. You know, it's packaged up, and yeah, so that's me.
It's beautiful, mate. And I think kids, and what's so interesting is, I feel like this is us too. Feel free to say, Kyran, you're wrong. But
I will feel free to say, Kyran, you're wrong. Don't worry.
You can,
even on your own podcast,
you can tell me where to go. Absolutely. But kids, when they hear messages of "I'm not enough," they go one of two ways. They go angry, aggressive warrior, fuck you, I'm going to prove you wrong, or they go, yeah, you're right, and they just accept it. I went angry, fuck you, I'm going to try and prove you wrong, overly competitive, overly just controlling. You for a long time went, yeah, you're right. And then, and this is what's so powerful about what you do and the men that you work with, is you discovered that power through the same thing that we both did, through boxing.
Yeah.
I'm watching you bring that to the world now. It's inspiring.
Yeah. And no, I'm not going to disagree with you there. I completely agree. That exactly was it. And I can look at us back and I can see that my initial reaction to being shit at school, being shy, the things that you just get, the signals that you get from people, the things that you're told, my initial reaction was, oh shit, I am not good. and the craziest thing was, like, I wasn't even upset about it. Like, I was shit at school, like really shit. I didn't get the grades to even get into sixth form. I'm sure there was a way for me to get in if I needed to do them again or something, but I didn't even get those grades to get into sixth form. But I was absolutely fine with it. I was just like, it's all right. I'll just like figure it out. This is just my life. And I wasn't even fighting it. That was the weirdest thing. And I wonder when the turning point really was. I'm not even too sure. Boxing 100% helped, but I actually think the turning point was for me. Boxing helped, but I was not as dedicated as you when it came to boxing. As we know, I was chasing girls still, and eventually drinking and everything way too much. But for me, I think the turning point for me, which started to make me think, fuck, I can like change this, was bodybuilding. Even though I never competed or anything, it was the lifestyle and the training of bodybuilding. And I believe that for me was the first feeling of purpose that I ever had. And I think this is important because when people say purpose, they think it's like some huge thing. They need to like worry about like, oh, is this the right purpose or anything like that? And we can get into that even more later. But for me, my first taste of purpose ever was my training. And potentially not even in a good way, but it also became my sense of identity, which probably held me back. And COVID helped me get out of that. But it was my sense of purpose, meaning like everything now was guided by my training. It was the first time I'd ever felt like I was good at something. The first time I'd ever felt like I was actually able to get better at something, because I was so skinny when I was younger and I could literally see my hard work manifesting into fucking bigger arms in the mirror. So I was like, oh shit, I can actually change. And I'm seeing that. Like I'm seeing literally seeing proof in the mirror. And it was the first time that I had that purpose of, okay, get to sleep on time. Don't go drinking. Eat better. It starts to, and this is just what purpose does as a whole, but for me, it was just training. It starts to guide every single action. Every single thing you're doing needs to be aligned with purpose. And for me, at that time, as small as it sounds, it was literally training. And then that became like my self-development, my reading. From 2015 up until now, I've read for 30 minutes a day, every single day, bar from a couple of days, probably maybe like 50 days I haven't done it in that entire time. And I think that was the turning point for me. It was feeling that shit, I can change, I can improve. And that feeling of just purpose for the first time in my life, you know?
And when you look at that, and what's amazing is you've stuck the course. You know, you've been coaching for nearly 10 years now, no?
What year is it? Yeah, 10, 15,
At least
10
8.
to 12.
At
10
least.
to 12 in some sort of capacity. I've been coaching people for 12 years now, which is crazy to think.
And
No, wait. Yeah, let's say 10.
I actually remember, I don't know if it was your first, but one of your first gym sessions down Gosling Gym in Welling Garden City.
Mm.
We went in, I remember going into the gym, and you and I were in there, and we had no clue what to do.
Mm.
Still don't have a clue.
Yeah.
But I remember us going to the gym and just like pushing everything and like, yeah, we feel amazing. And like all of the ideas that we had about how bodybuilding worked. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, like if you're really overweight and you're carrying a lot of body fat, you can just turn that straight into muscle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like, sorry, Kieran, you're an ectomorph.
Yeah. Sorry, bro. You need to be trained this way.
Yeah, and it was just fun, man. It was
Mm.
just fun, and seeing you stay the path. One thing that you've got is consistency, and you stay focused.
Mm.
Me, on the other hand, I've gone boxing, I've gone sales, I've gone entrepreneurship, I've gone coaching, whereas you've always been able to stay consistent. But I feel like a lot of what we learned at the boxing club really built the foundations for the
100%.
mindset and what we're doing today.
Mm.
Even as I think we walked in that gym at 12, I think we were. I remember Louis denies this. He always denies this. But he asked our friend Aaron to go to the boxing club.
Yeah, I
with
don't
him.
remember this one
Yeah,
bit.
I remember I was there in the quad. He asked him to go if he wanted to go boxing. He said no, and I said I really want to go. I was actually I was annoyed. I get invited. I was like I want to go, and he's like yeah, come on then. And Louis's mum took us down there, and wow, it was like I remember walking in it was in an old working men's club.
Mm. Literally, it was so old that when we were all punching the bags, the walls would shake.
Yeah.
By the end, they had a new building because it was like a fucking,
Well,
like, literally
It got
dangerous.
yeah, it was. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it's filled with asbestos.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, like, structurally, that building got demolished. And I remember walking through the door and the thick smell of sweat and leather. I remember going, stinks in here. Like, it has a very unique smell. Weirdly.
And I fucking love that smell now.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're the same.
Well, I spent so long in gyms. I don't smell that smell when I go into a boxing club. I don't, it's just
It's
that.
just it.
That is just
This
like
is what it was meant to be.
yeah, And I remember walking in, and Louis' uncle was he was our first coach ever.
Oh, and yeah, 100%.
He was our first ever coach.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I even want to tear up just talking about him. Like he was so special. He just created such a belief. Like he believed in us. Like
Yeah.
he was so fucking special. When he died, I felt like we dealt with it fine. I felt like we just went, yeah, it's all right. We moved on. But when he died, it was like a part of me died. And that was so fucking hard. But he just took us under his wing. And it was just fucking, I just don't know where we'd be without him, man.
It would be a whole different story without him. And for everyone listening, Martin was actually the one, my uncle Martin was actually the one who created the boxing club. So it wouldn't have even been there, right? And my memory of how we got to the boxing club was you was begging me to ask my uncle to go boxing. Like, how do we go boxing? How do we end up there? And it's funny because now looking back, well, I already knew this anyway, but looking back, I was so shy of stepping out of my box, of being a weak little boy. I was so shy of not being that identity that I thought I was. That was the blocker between me asking my dad or asking my uncle. I was like, that's just so not me, you know? So it took me so long, not because I didn't want to go down boxing. I'm sure there was some fears around that too. But that's how deeply my shyness went. I was shy of my fucking uncle and of my dad to actually ask something like that. But yeah, looking back now, the time in the boxing club was fucking transformational. And obviously time with Martin as well, and the amount that he pushed us, believed in us. I remember so many different things. Like we both reel off so many different kind of one-liners that he used to say to us. Yeah, Martinisms that he used to say to us to this day, and we will until we're dead, you know. And one of the big ones that I remember for me, and it's such a simple thing, but I remember I didn't want to fight. Kyran fought before me, and I was coming up to my fight, and I was nervous. Like I was really fucking nervous. And the thing with me and nerves when I was boxing was I'd never felt nerves before. You know, I'd done my school exams and everything, but I literally did not give a fuck about school exams. I never had nerves. I walked in and walked out again, didn't give a fuck. So probably why I was so bad. And it was the first time I'd ever felt nerves. And I had people telling me, if you're not nervous, then you're not ready. So I started to like literally accelerate those nerves. When a fight was coming up a month away or whatever, I would actually, if I caught myself not nervous, I thought I was like not respecting the fight so much, and I'd make myself nervous, and I could feel that like actual bodily kind of change. And I remember saying to Martin, I don't know if I actually want to fight. I'm a bit nervous. And I remember him saying, listen, if you don't fight today, well, not today, it was like in a week's time. If you don't fight on that day, you will never fight, because these feelings are never going to go away. You're never going to feel ready. You just have to fucking jump into the ring. And it's a simple message, but it goes for fucking anything. And the other thing that I always think about now with nerves, and this is with my dad, he told me when I was thinking about stopping boxing, and I hated the nerves. That was my biggest thing. I hated the nerves beforehand, especially for us. Like, you got to realize we was in school, right? I remember a day where it was a fucking Thursday and I was in history, and everyone else is worrying about fucking history homework, and I had to go and have a fucking scrap that night. I was like, you cunts don't even know what's going through my head. I'm shitting myself. Do you know what I mean? So like, I was in school getting nervous for a fight that night that all my family was going to come and watch, and I got beaten up. That guy is now a professional boxer.
That's Jordan
Reynolds.
Shout out to Jordan Reynolds. I ended up training with him at Hoddesdon.
Yeah, you're doing great.
He's actually like a really lovely bloke as well.
Oh, I'm sure. I follow him on everything, and I want you to become a world champion, so I can say I at least got beat by a world champion. My claim to fame. So Jordan, do it for us. But remember, my dad said, like, that if you stop because of these nerves, what you don't understand is these nerves are going to be with you through anything you do, and they're going to follow you for the rest of your life, you know, and the more you can just get used to just leaning into it and crushing it, the better. And I still stopped. And every time that I'm nervous now, he says the same thing. He says, I told you, these nerves follow you through, and the nerves are always there. And the craziest thing is, it always feels exactly the fucking same. It's the same thing happening in your body. It's the same resistance happening in your body, no matter if it's a fight, public speaking, even a sales call, whatever it is, you know. That's why I always tell my clients now, lean into the edge. If you feel that fear in anything and you start to let it beat you, it starts to just grow power. Now I've learned that. I would have had so many more fights if I knew that back then.
What's meant to be is meant to be. And he said the same thing to me, but in a different way. And Martin was the first person I ever communicated emotion to. Naturally, you just don't communicate your emotions as a boy, as a teenage boy. You just don't do that. He was the first person that actually spoke, and then eventually it was probably you. Both talking about how we're both shitting ourselves for our fights.
Sure.
But he said one thing, and it's the same thread of thinking, but he just said it in a different way. He said, if you wait until you think you'll be ready, you'll never be ready. You wait until you think you'll be ready, you'll never be ready, and you just need to fucking jump all in. You know, he was such a special bloke, and just the energy that he had about it was just ferocious. It was just like, it'd get to the end of the night, he's already done about 100 rounds of pads with all the kids. I got a fight coming up. I've already done all my circuits. What I should do is warm down and go home. I ask, Martin, like, you got space for 2 more rounds of pads? He'd look at the clock. He'd think, fucking hell, my wife Kelly is not going to be happy with this. Go on in. And then he'd do the pad. He'd get them done. You know, he just led by example. You've got to love what you do, you know, and he was a volunteer. He didn't get paid for that. He was a builder. He was on building sites most days, and he just loved it. And I always wonder, like, so he passed away when we were, I think, 16.
It was, yeah, his funeral was actually on my 16th birthday. I actually remember having.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was on the 30th of July on my 16th birthday, and it's funny because I really truly went through like the stages of grief, and I forgot the stages now. I could probably remember them, but like I remember one, and I was actually thinking like maybe he's not dead. I actually thought maybe he'll come out on my birthday, and this is why it's on my birthday and stuff, and it was all to teach me to like.
Wow.
Like my family more. He never came out on his funeral. He was dead. But yeah, it's funny. I remember that. But yeah, so we were 16.
Wow.
Or you were 16. I was just about to be.
And I remember I couldn't even get into the fucking church because I was in Spain when it happened, and we flew home for the funeral, but the flight was delayed. We flew home in the morning of that, and it was in the afternoon. And I remember getting there, and there was literally people flooding out the church into the street. Like you couldn't get in. There was actually
street.
There's a seat in there for me. Apparently, Harry told me. Harry Carrick, our other boxing coach, come out and he's like, "Kyran, there was a seat for you in there." And I just, the whole street was lined with people, and that for me was such a powerful moment because it made me realize, you know what? When I'm dead, if I have a funeral where so many people have showed up, that'll be my gauge of that's how many lives you impacted.
Yeah.
That many people took time out of their busy schedules to actually come and pay respects to that for me just really made me realize, wow. And I always remember that. I'll always remember that line of people not even being able to get into the church and thinking that is a man that has created impact.
Yes.
And I always wonder, like, if he didn't die, I always wonder personally, like my boxing career, where I would have got to. Because I promised him I'd win him a national title when I last ever saw him, and he was yellow and he's like basically on his deathbed.
Yeah.
Like, speaking to him,
literally on his bed.
I never thought he was gonna die. I just might not never die. He's indestructible.
Yeah.
But I think he knew at that point. And I said, I'm gonna win you the national title, and I put so much pressure on myself to deliver that promise. I never did it. I never performed. I was so anxious, afraid, guilty, shame that it's just. I always wonder if he hadn't have happened, what would have been. But the past is dead and gone, and you can only take the positives, as cliche as that sounds, out of that. And I think he helped build two leaders.
100%.
Everything that he instilled in us. You always remember this one in circuit training. If you cheat, you're only cheating yourself.
Yeah.
If you cheat, you're only cheating yourself.
Yeah.
Don't fucking cut corners, And in boxing, that's the game.
You get in what you put out. That was a classic one.
Oh, all the time. And all of these Martinisms they just built that. You know, what a fucking.
It's crazy when you think about it. We're carrying on his teachings,
His philosophy, absolutely.
We are carrying on his teachings to others. We've added our own spin on things, but we are. Especially for me, I'm literally doing the transformation that he kick-started for me. I'm helping other men go through that, and it's crazy when you think about it. And it's so true what you said. Like, I've not been to many funerals, but I've never even seen on a film a fucking funeral that busy. Like, I remember driving up. Like, could even drive up. You had to park a little bit further away so you could actually walk because there's so many people seeing you and Doug there, and that, like you said, it just goes to show the fucking impact. The fact that 16, boom, 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 how many years is that? Well, however many years that is, like 8 or something, we're still here talking about it. Like we said, continuing on that legacy. And I think it's so cool to see, like, he was truly a mission-driven man. You know what I mean? He had, like, clear fucking purpose. But it wasn't his work, and everyone thinks that has to be your work and everything else, or you need a load of money to to be successful or whatever else. But he did not have a load of money. His passion or his purpose was not work. It was something outside of that kept it, that he just put his all into. And there is hundreds of people that still are impacted by him today, and all the people that we work with are impacted by him today.
Correct.
That's real fucking impact, isn't it?
Inspiring others to then inspire others.
Yeah.
It's like top level shit. You know, Harry Goodwin. He's passed away now. I think he's like 80 in the gym. You remember?
Yeah.
He was obviously an England coach. He'd coached boys all around the world. My dad said my dad was one of the last fights that he coached. Then he retired, and then he came back for obviously winning Garden City Boxing Club. He said Martin had the potential to go all the way to England Team GB. Like he had all of that. And yeah, it's just the power of coaching, you know. Like everybody listening to this podcast obviously understands the value of coaching. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coaching. Yeah. But it laid those foundations, and when you have that impact and that influence, or if you get given an opportunity to work with someone that you can sense they've got something that I want, take it. Imagine if we hadn't have gone to that boxing club. Imagine how different life would have been, you know. It's crazy. And then obviously after that period, well, there was a period of time where I was boxing full time, and that was my life. I went into sales and was doing that, and then yeah, we came back together, and here we are, you know.
It's funny you talk about just it came up when you were saying like Martin was the first person for you to talk about your feelings with, and I actually remember I still couldn't talk about my emotions and feelings back then, and I actually think it was when he died that I realized just how bad I was at it. I remember getting told he was in the hospital, and I was so I'm gonna cry. I was so
go there,
like
go.
It was so awkward. Sorry.
I apologize, mate. Do it. Go there.
I was so awkward and shy. I couldn't even go and see him in the hospital. So I went and trained fucking legs that day. So I was told that one of my heroes and uncle was gonna die in 2 fucking weeks. And because I was so awkward and shy, I went and trained fucking legs because that's where I felt comfortable. That was my comfort zone, you know? And that's when we talk about confidence. That's how it opens, like that's how it shuts doors for you when you can't fucking speak your truth. And I was just thinking, what am I going to talk about? How am I going to relate? I'm so sad. I'm so scared. I've never lost anyone. How am I going to do this? And I went back into my comfort zone and trained legs on my own. And I remember that session. It was the saddest session ever, as you can fucking imagine. Training legs when all my family had gone to see Martin. And yeah, that is, and we've talked about it before, and you don't know this, but that's one of my regrets, is being so shy. I could only see him one time on that bed with all my family there, never like one-on-one. And that is one of my regrets. Now that we talk about him weekly, monthly. So that's why it's important, you know, to be able to relate and not being shy, to fucking cry on camera and shit like that, you know. And not that you know that you need to do that, but it's like, don't be so scared to fucking be real and show your emotions and talk the truth, because you miss big fucking opportunities if not. So that's interesting. But that was the thing that helped me realize the importance of family and everything else after that day, on my birthday, on the funeral. I thought, right, I'm gonna start to let my guard down a bit or whatever else, stop being so scared of just being real, you know. But yeah, interesting story.
You got to look at just how far you've come off the back of that. People that know Louis now, and this is something I've always respected about you, is your total self-acceptance of who you are as a person
Yeah.
in all areas of life, and how you will fucking do you. That sounds so cliche. You do you, but Louis is fucking Louis, and he is not ashamed of being Louis.
Mm-hmm.
To come from that shy kid, didn't even want to go and see Martin, to where you are today, mate. Like, that is fucking believable. I wish we're gonna try and dig out a picture, and we'll try and dig out a picture, and maybe we'll put it as a carousel on the episode. But to see that transformation, because I remember you were so awkward, man.
Yeah.
You were so everywhere we went.
Couldn't talk to anyone. Not even my family. Not even my dad, who I didn't live with. I could talk to my mum, of course, but we'd only argue. But then not even my dad. I couldn't even talk to him for a very, very, very long time because we didn't live together. So we never had that comfort until I went off to Dubai, Ibiza to do a season. And it's so funny. I don't know if you were there. I think you was in London at this point, but that was the first time that I started to actually chat to him. And I was crying like this again because he literally just said, "I'm proud of you." And I go, "Really?" And then we start crying. And then it was the first time we even had like a real chat, which is so funny to think. And then all my friends came outside and was like, "What the fuck are you two doing?" It was at like a wedding reception, and it was really embarrassing. But yeah.
But mate, to go from that to where you are today,
Yeah.
to be able to fucking communicate this stuff, to lead men through these emotions, man, it's just like, you guys don't even, the Louis you see today, you don't even get like how much he has evolved into. And I say this with love. The past is dead and gone. And you can look at that as a regret, or you can look at that moment as the seed that Martin planted in you to fucking take this out to the planet.
100%. And yeah, I definitely do. And like I said, like it's big fucking things like that, especially when you look back, that starts to show you the importance of a lot of these things or a lot of this work. You know what I mean? Because that's the shit that really matters, isn't it? You know? So I agree wholeheartedly.
Shout out to Steve Calvert, by the way, Louis' dad.
Shouts out, Steve.
He'll be listening to this, and I'm sure he'll be sat there probably sipping a can of Beck's, crying as well.
Crying as well.
Yeah.
It's funny because you say, like, you know, myself, my truth. The one thing, he'll probably keep crying at this bit, the one thing that he's always said that he wants me and my sister to be was to not give a fuck. You know, that was it. And that is now one of my biggest necessities in myself is, am I thinking for myself? That's my most important trait. Am I thinking for myself? Question everything. Think for yourself. Don't go with the fucking crowd. And don't give a fuck. And actually, guys, as you stop giving a fuck, you start to realize, one, how liberating it feels. And two, how magnetizing it is to the right people. And the cunts don't stay around anyway. Do you know what I mean? They don't like it and they fuck off.
And that's what your old man has always taught us, you know. And I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, any of it, without your old man. Your old man like backed us both in so many fucking different ways. But I remember he was my first ever sponsor in boxing. He was the first ever person to teach me about business, to help me understand, like, it's not a cost, it's an investment, to take risks. He's seen me falling flat on my fucking face so many times. And it's so funny. I'll go sit in his kitchen. I'll be like, fucking back to the drawing board. Yeah.
The kitchen chats.
Kitchen chats. He sat there with his can of Beck's.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's only the last, I'd say the last 2-3 years where there's no drawing board, where it's really hit that consistency. And he's always there, and he always backs in us, and he always believes in us. And again, he just like Martin, like, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing without him. He's just such an incredible, loving. There's no ways to describe it, you know. And when you've got those lessons, that experience, this is why this shit's important. You know, that authenticity piece, like, a big part a couple of the coins that we sell here at TMP is psychological freedom, and that is a deep acceptance into who you are as an individual. And once you start seeking into that, the signal, and without going too spiritual, but the energetic frequency, when you walk in, when your family member's really pissed off and your mum and your dad's come home, you can feel it. The energy of the room just drops. There is energetic frequencies. Like we know emotions have different frequencies. But when you can be authentically who you are and you can just be open and honest with nothing to hide, and you are who you are, guess what? Some people aren't going to like you, and that's fine. But the ones that do, that signal into the universe is going to be picked up, and people will respond to that signal. And then all of a sudden, you're surrounded by people who are actually, I don't have an inherent loathing for you lot.
Yeah.
You lot that have come around me now are amazing. But it's only when you're not being honest with yourself and you're putting out fake signals is when you're going to attract people that aren't, they're not right for you, And that's something that you've always been really good at. It's something that I've always admired about you. And I think I told you this, I can't remember if I did. But in one of my therapy sessions, I was talking about people that we admire and we look up to. And I'd written you down as one of them, for somebody that in your personal life. And now, I think it's really in the last few months where you've, in your coaching, you've really just gone, fuck it, bring it on,
Yeah.
and you're just becoming so much more at peace. But in your personal life, you've always had that, I am fucking me. Take me as I am, my friend,
I appreciate that. And I think I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. And I think it all comes from desire, like when you start to hide parts of yourself, it's all coming from a place of like needing something that you don't truly need. When you can start to watch, all right, what am I like really desiring right now that I feel like I'm not complete without? That's when you start to hide part of yourself. So it's not necessarily, sometimes it's, I really desire like money and everything else, and you really feel like you need that to be complete. And everyone's talked about how that's probably not the ideal way to be, but it's not just that. It's like, I desire to be liked by this group. I desire to be wanted by this girl. I desire to be all of these different things. As soon as you start to come from a place of needing something to feel okay, you start to hide parts of yourself because you think that that's not going to be okay. Or you start to put parts of yourself like more amplified because you think that that's what's necessary. And all of these things, you're just hiding behind these things. Even if you get these things that you want because you've started to act in this certain way, you're not going to feel good. You're keeping up this weird act, whether you know it or not. And I think a really good thing to do is just start to watch, what are all these little things that you're doing just to get that kind of like acceptance, or what are the things that you're clinging on to that make you feel like people like you for that, or you're not enough if you don't have that. For me, I've gone through a lot. One of my big ones was my muscle mass, and I'm sure that people listening can probably relate to this. I know it sounds so stupid, but all beliefs sound stupid when you break it down to its core. But like, I had a deep belief that if I wasn't training hard and I wasn't muscular, that people wouldn't like me. How fucking stupid does that sound?
Yeah.
But I definitely did. And that is what kept me rigid in my life, rigid in the way that I'd never went traveling before, because I could have 100% went traveling. I built this business from the ground up to be able to travel, and I got it to like at least double past what it needed to be financially to actually go traveling very, very comfortably. I still didn't go. Why? Because I was scared that it would get in the way of my training. And I was doing this training because I thought that I needed to be muscular to be the Louis that people liked. And one thing that really helped there was COVID. COVID hit, gym shut for fucking ages. And I definitely lost muscle mass. I was training at home with some 17.5 kg dumbbells, and that was it. But definitely lost muscle mass. And that, as small as it sounds, was actually a big pivotal point for me, because it started to strip one of my identities that I thought I had to be. And then I was so much freer to just be myself. So much freer. And I still train. I actually train better because I'm not so like worried about getting everything right, and it's more enjoyable and it's more consistent. But that stripped that little part of me that I was actually kind of hiding behind to be okay. So if anyone's listening and they're thinking like that might be me in a certain way, like Is it your profession? Is it the amount of money that you like to make it look like you have, or girls, good looking girls, potentially, whatever it is? You have to try and actually reduce that, try and bring that down, and see that people still love you. And you've got the similar story about boxing, right? In Subway,
Oh, mate.
eating my meatball marinara, which was my absolute favorite.
It's so true, because the point you tapped into there is every human being is afraid of not being enough and not being lovable. And a big part of that is being liked. And for me, my big parts of being liked was being able to beat people up through boxing to assert dominance, and having a six-pack. There were the two things that are really important. And then once I decided to leave that identity behind, I thought I was going to lose all my friends and family for some reason.
Yeah, it's just the craziest thing when you start breaking it down. It's like, that makes no sense.
No, it
Why
doesn't.
am I thinking that?
I was so scared.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember you and Doug in Subway, and I went, boys, I've got something to tell you. And he was like, what? I was like, you might not like it. And you were like, what? I was like, I've got an eating disorder and I'm giving up on boxing and I'm moving on. And he went, shit, okay. So does that mean you don't want the Subway?
What does that mean about the Subway?
Yeah, I was like, no, we'll get a Subway. I was like, you guys don't care? And he was like, no, you're Kyran, dude. Like, we got Kyran.
And honestly, you were much more enjoyable to be around after you dropped those things. You were so uptight before,
rigid and controlling.
And it was probably
and
because
horrible.
it got to that point where you were doing it not for the love of doing it. You were doing it for like feeling like you needed to get to that end goal because you thought things would be better, right? You were much more enjoyable to be around after you stopped that.
Tell me about it. And then I had the same bloody dance of sales, man. You remember New Year's Eve when we had the flat? Had a New Year's Eve party.
Yeah.
Remember that? So me and my ex had this central London apartment that you could see. You start getting out the window, you could see the London Eye, and we went to go watch the fireworks for a little party, and it was just a massive party of fucking pretense. It was just fucking made up. It was like I was in a relationship that wasn't right. I was in a career that wasn't right, and we actually was quite a nice party. It was actually quite nice. Having a few drinks, went to go watch the fireworks, and then afterwards we went out for a night out, and we went to I think it was the O2 Brixton. I think Brixton Academy. We went to this.
I was never with you.
This club. No, you'd gone to another party, but I went with me, and Matt was there. My little brother was there. My ex was there, and we just ended up arguing. And I remember, you know me, I've never punched a wall ever. Louis was the man that used to put through doors.
All my doors were broken.
Louis retired loads of doors. Yeah. He was a pro at that. I'd never punched a wall, and I remember having an argument with my ex. And I remember punching the wall next to her, my hand being swollen up. We had to then leave. We then argued. My little brother then got angry about the argument. So he went missing for the night and we got scared. And I woke up on New Year's Day, hungover. There's shit all over the flat from the party. The bedroom's a mess. I'm hungover. My hand's like all swollen to a pulp. And I remember just looking at the ceiling and going, this can't be my life. This absolutely can't be my life. And why was I still selling? Because I thought I had to have lots of money to be likable and lovable. And that's been hard to let go, and you know, since I've let go of those two identities and that need to be liked and lovable, my whole life has changed, and I just can't believe I used to live like that. It's a head fuck, you know, and you've observed all of that.
Yeah,
thank you for being there, man.
And 90% of people are living in a similar way to that. You know, they're doing these things because they feel like they need to fit in and everything else, and they're just miserable. And then they lean on these things like drinking, drugs, and everything else to kind of make them feel like just to numb it out a little bit, you know. And the interesting thing is we were talking about nerves for boxing, nerves for whatever else, and it all comes from the same place, you know. It all comes from, I am scared that I'm going to be kicked out of the tribe. We want to be part of the tribe, and it all comes from a nervousness of shit. If I'm not doing this, or for example, if I go boxing and I get beaten up, are my tribe not going to like me anymore, and is my survival going to be in jeopardy? So when you can start to break it down to that and realize all of this stuff, every time that you're feeling fear, every time that you're feeling kind of that resistance towards stepping into something, you can feel that edge. Understand that it is literally just your nervous system worried that this is going to mean jeopardy for your place in the tribe. Say that out loud, write it down, and realize that's fucking stupid. In this day and age, it's not true. I'm still going to be alive, and go fucking do it anyway. And the more you can start to prove to yourself that you're never kicked out of the tribe, you've got your tribe there. And even if you are kicked out of the tribe, you can survive on your own in this day and age. That is when you can really become liberated. And that's actually another thing that I think is really useful if you're in a similar situation to this, is actually go and spend some time alone. Recently, I spent a whole month alone in Spain, and that actually really helped me. That really helped me. And it just proves to you, like, even if everyone did fuck off, like, I've proved to myself now, I can live on my own completely with no friends around me in a whole new country. I'm still going to survive, you know. It's also a great place as well, a little training ground to start to go out and to start to show these parts of yourself that you don't like or you usually hide from society, even if it's just a fucking bad hair day. And because there's no one there that you know, you're going to be a little bit more comfortable, and you can start to show that everything is still exactly the same, you know. So it's a great way to get out of these things.
Spot on. And the opportunity that you have as coaching entrepreneurs is you can leave whatever tribe you're in and go and build your own fucking tribe. You know, we've got our little total mental performance mentalist tribe, you know, all doing what we're doing. You've got the Power Project tribe, which I've seen grow and evolve, and it's just been an inspiring journey to have you on, mate. So thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. We'll shoot another one definitely next year. Who knows where we'll be. Maybe we'll do it in Vegas.
Sounds good to me.
So final question, and you saw when our little logo was built on Canva, we were sat in
I kind of helped you build it, didn't I?
Yeah.
I made it a bit different. You took my little bits out.
Yeah.
I got a little bit fancy with it.
Let's give. Well, look, it was fun. I can't
It was fun.
what did you do? There was one thing that you did.
I did like a nice little circle in the back.
That was
like
it.
a big like.
That was it.
It was really cool. It was just a Canva graphic. It's a good job you didn't do that, because everyone that you work with uses Canva, and they would have seen this graphic every day.
Yeah.
So it's a good job we didn't use that, to be honest.
Yeah, we used that.
I'm surprised you ain't changed the logo, to be honest.
I'm not changing it.
I know you're not.
Graphic have said to me, yeah, we're going to redo a rebrand. I was like, no, you're not. You're not doing a rebrand.
I like my Canva one.
Listen, I built this on Canva, and I love it. The clients love it. The tribe loves it. And it's everything that we're about. And it's also distinctive. Like, it catches your eye. And whenever you see it, you make that association, just like the McDonald's M. But ignoring our Canva designed logo, ignoring the team, ignoring the philosophy, ignoring the movement and us, just think about the phrase, the words, total mental performance. If you'd achieved total mental performance, how would you know?
For me, I think total mental performance for me means a lack of things that are holding you back more than anything. I don't think it's adding too much on or anything like that. I think it's literally the elimination of your glass ceilings, your blockers, your fears, the things that are making you feel like you need to hide because you need to stay part of the tribe. I feel like that is total mental performance, you know, a complete lack of that. It's like, I know this is a meditation analogy, but it's like a blue sky with grey clouds being all the things that are kind of holding you back, and over time, just those clouds chipping away at them until it's just that blue sky. So you can just be truly you, and there's nothing holding you back.
Louis Calvert, everybody, thank you so much for coming on, mate. I love you very much, and I love having
Love you too, bro.
And so drop Louis a follow. What's the Instagram handle?
Instagram is Louis Joe Calvert. It is LouisJoeCalvert.
Drop him a follow. If this resonated with you, drop him a message. Please share this episode on your story. It means the world for us to get this podcast out there. Drop a comment into the comments, and I will be, seeing you. You'll be listening to the podcast next week. Big love, team.